Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar from us here at the TEFL Org, where I'm going to be covering teaching speaking. My name is Carl. If you've never been to any of these webinars before, you're very welcome. Hi, I hope you're doing well. If you are returning, thanks for coming back and saying us again. Please say hello in the chat and let me know where you are in the world. I can see Elizabeth's already in Canada, windy Canada, but I'm sure it's still lovely. Southern California. You're not. Alan's not from sunny California. I don't want to know where you're not. I want to know where you are. Okay. Vancouver. Hello. There's lots of people coming in. Seems like we've got a few Canadians in. Hello. My name is Carl. I am one of the tutors here at the TEFL Org, and I work as a teacher trainer on the weekend courses here in Northern Ireland, Belfast. So we were lucky enough that the restrictions were lifted here in Northern Ireland. So a couple of weeks ago, I did a weekend course where I trained up some new teachers, and it was fantastic to get people teaching again. I also work as an EFL examiner. I work as an online teacher. I do some university work. I've been very lucky to have taught in some amazing places around the world. I've taught in Japan, China, Kazakhstan, Vietnam, Sri Lanka for a bit. I was in Azerbaijan chasing the oil money. I was, did I say I was in Iraq? I was in Iraq for a bit. That was fantastic. And in normal times, I teach a lot in Spain and Italy. I examine in Spain and Italy, so I go over there. So that's me, basically. And I'm here this Thursday evening to answer any questions you have about teaching English as a foreign language. Are you new to teaching English as a foreign language? You want to know more? Put some questions in the chat. Have you been teaching for a while and you want to ask something a bit more specific? Put the question in the chat. Anything you have at all, I will be very happy to try my best to answer, or I'll ask Alan, who is running this behind the scenes webinar, and he might know the answer. So let me say some of these hellos. Samantha in London, hello. Elvie, hello. Carla in the UK. Erin in Glasgow. Los Angeles, double in Fort Lauderdale, sunny Scott, Oklahoma, New York City, Manchester, Philippines. Hello. So any questions you had, put them in the chat and I will get round to them. But today's theme is of teaching speaking, and that's what I'm going to talk about at first for a little bit in a bit of a presentation. If there's any speaking questions that come up, I'm going to answer those if they're relevant to the slide that I'm talking. But if not, I will get to all of the questions at the end. Okay, so we'll just get this PowerPoint loaded up and let's get going with it, shall we? Okay, so first thing I want to say is this statement here. I want to improve my speaking. And why have I put that up there? Because I think this is the most common question I get asked by students. So wherever I've taught in the world, quite often a student will come up to me and say, teacher, I want to improve my speaking. And you think, okay, great. It's good that they know what they want to improve. But that's generally what they say. They say, I want to improve my speaking. And it's really common. I think no matter where I want to say, you don't really get students come up to you so much. Sometimes you do. And they say, I want to improve my reading or I want to improve my listening. The most common statement I have heard from students around the world is, I want to improve my speaking. Okay. Now, when a student says this to me, I personally think what they really mean is they want to improve their pronunciation. That is what I find that they really want to do. They don't necessarily know what sort of aspect of speaking they want to improve. It's the pronunciation that they generally think they need to. All right. And then because one of the follow-on statements that they might say to me is, I want to speak like a native speaker. And I have a bit of a problem with this statement, to be honest, because, when we speak a foreign language, do we necessarily want to speak like a native speaker? I'm not so sure, but it seems to be something that comes up to me and students come up to me and say, this is what I want. Okay. And one of the things I say to them back is, what does a native speaker sound like? So what to you, Mr. Tokyo, who's come up to me, Mr. Yuko, who's come up to me in Tokyo and said this, I say to him, what does an English native speaker sound like? Because actually, it's quite a wide range. In the United Kingdom, I'm here in Northern Ireland, and people speak very differently in English from people in Newcastle or in Scotland or in London, or widen it out from an Australian or a New Zealand English speaker or an American or a Canadian English speaker. There's various parts of Africa where English is the first language. So I say to them, what's a native speaker sound like? And they don't really know what to say. Sometimes they'll say something like, oh, I want to speak like the Queen. Well, that's almost impossible. To speak like the Queen is very strange. I think not many people would speak in a posh accent. So I sort of say to them, look, what you don't want to sound like a native speaker. What you want to sound like is somebody who can be understood. I think that's probably the most common response I would say to that is, well, American speakers are different from English speakers. So what you really want is to be able to be understood. That's the most important thing. They sometimes take that, but then they sometimes say, well, wait there, I've seen someone on the internet who says they can get me to speak like the Queen. And I always say to them, well, do you know what? Follow that program. Good luck with that, because I don't think I can get you to sound like the Queen. Okay. So what I think you need to do as a teacher, if someone comes up to that, is find out what their L1 English problems are. So every country around the world, for example, French speakers, they will have specific problems that they have when they speak English. Same with Japanese first language speakers. And if you put into Google something like Italian English speaking problems, or you put into Google something like Chinese English speaking problems, you'll find loads of websites with loads of people with PhDs and masters who've written scholarly articles that will tell you specifically what the pronunciation and the speaking problems are that first language has. So that's your first thing you need to work out. Okay. For example, they'll say that Japanese people mispronounce the L and the R sound. They will say that Vietnamese people don't often say the final syllable of a word. That's the sort of thing that you'll find, and that's probably what you need to work on as a teacher to improve their speaking. Okay, so that's your first step. Google that country plus their English problems. But then you might find, okay, do you know what I need to do? I need to teach pronunciation. Okay, good. Pronunciation is something that you are probably really wanted to teach, if that makes sense. I lost my grammar then, my syntax. I apologize. So probably you have been employed around the world or online to try and improve pronunciation. It's one of the main things because it is seen by recruiters or it's seen by students that a native speaker or a near native speaker or a very high level second language English speaker has good pronunciation. So that's probably one of the things that you are employed for. And one of the things you need to get into your mind there is that listening is important. Listening is a key part of pronunciation. Why? Because the biggest pronunciation problems tend to come from like getting a sound wrong, one sort of sound wrong in a word. So what you need to do, I think, is concentrate on something called minimal pairs. And you need to get your student understanding and listening for minimal pairs. Now, loads of websites on this. If you put into Google ESL minimal pairs, EFL minimal pairs, you'll get loads of websites. And what I think the main problem tends to be is the vowel sounds. So here is an example of a minimal pair. Now, this is a consonant minimal pair. I'll show you a vowel one in a second. So we've got loyal and royal. Two words where if you change the sounds at the start, l, r, that changes the meaning of the word. Different pronunciation. You got to get the students listening to that. So you might have a pre-recorded sentence. You might just say it, loyal, royal. You get them to say, what's the difference? What's the difference? Listen, listen, listen. There'll be activities on this in textbooks, that kind of thing. Find that. And you're getting them to understand. You might get them to write it down. You might get them to think, okay, is that a L sound or a R sound. You might put them onto a piece of paper and they move to the right phonemic part of the paper, something like that. Consonant sound one. Vowel sounding one would be something like let and lit. Eh, I, eh, I. That change in the vowel sounds changes the meaning, different minimal pairs. That you would get them listening for that. You might get them putting them in the correct column. Is that an E? Is that an I sound? Or is that an eh sound? And you put them in the right place. Get them moving, get them listening for it, get them checking it, get them, then they can start producing it once they do that. Raise the students' awareness of these different sounds and how they can do it. Because if they can't hear them, then they're not going to be able to produce them. So listening is a big part of pronunciation. Okay? Any questions, please put them in the chat. I can see some brilliant ones coming in already. I'm going to get them going. Okay? Then I'm going to answer those questions in a second. So once they've started recognizing them and, you know, they're putting them, as I said, putting them in the right column, they're doing some matching activity, whatever it might be that you might do, you might get them doing dictation, whatever it might be, then you make them reproduce them. How do you make them reproduce them? You can model the sound, eh, eh, eh. Look where the tongue position is, eh, or eh, 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 eh. Get them moving your mouth. You'll find YouTube videos where they'll show this. You can even, I've seen people with like these little doll things where you, like a glove where you put them in and you move the tongue, all that kind of thing. Draw it on a board, all that kind of thing. You can do whatever you want and you can get them reproducing it. Then you could get them doing a dictation and the partner writes it down, all that kind of thing. Okay. So definitely, these are the kind of things that you want to. A fantastic book for this, an amazing book for this, is a book called Ship, S-H-I-P, or Sheep, S-H-E-E-P, Ship or Sheep. It's the best pronunciation book you'll ever find, I'm sure. Okay, so I can see, Andrea, you're saying references to listening resources. I would look for a book like that, Ship or Sheep. Okay, see if you can find it in your library, see where you can find it. Okay, and then they're often L1 specific. So as I said before, the sounds that they can reproduce or the sounds they can't hear depends on their first language. So Google that. Okay, you will find lots of websites that help you with that, because they might not have that sound in their language. Okay, so that there might be a new sound for them that they're trying to produce. Okay, or it might be things like they don't finish with that sound, or they don't have that sound in the middle of the word. That's a sound that comes at the start of a word or an end of a word. Depends totally on the L1. Okay, good. Next thing to think about is fluency. Fluency is different from pronunciation. What is fluency? But it's basically at a basic level, I think fluency is staying on topic. Okay. Sometimes you might start talking about a subject and you're doing really well. So what you having for dinner? Pizza, 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 pizza. Then it sort of goes a little bit to things like restaurants. And you're like, okay, well, you're still sort of on topic, but then you might end up talking about your favorite restaurant. And then you might end up talking about your favorite town that you've been to, and the student has started really well, but they've sort of ended up really away from where they started, and that's kind of going off topic. And that's what fluency is basically, all right? And one of the aspects of that is not repeating themselves. Very often that students repeat themselves. They sort of say the same thing 4 or 5 times as well. And sometimes when they change, they say the same thing. They've gone off topic a little bit because they've changed one word or something like that. Or they said the same idea again. This is sort of the problems that come with fluency. All right. So these are the sort of things that you can fix. You can say, well, do you know what? There, Yuko, you've said that 4 times. You could have just said it once or twice. Or look, Yuko, you started here, but you've ended up over here. All right. What do you need to do? You need to get them to listen to a speaker and take notes. So for example, you might write down a paragraph that you then say, and you sort of think, where does the teacher start? Where does the teacher finish? Okay. Or you might model a speaker going away from a topic. So you might produce something and you say, right, where does the speaker start? Where does it finish? Okay. And look, is their fluency good? No, because they've sort of started here and they've finished up there. Look, have they repeated themselves 3 or 4 times the same idea? Not so good, all right? That's the sort of thing that you might want to do, get involved in fluency, okay? Now, one of the things that students often have this problem, or if you've got sort of fluency problems, is often they're trying to talk too much, or they're trying to try too hard. I had an Italian girl once who came to me because she couldn't get a high mark on a test she needed to do in speaking. Pronunciation was pretty good. Pronunciation was pretty good. The vocabulary was pretty good. The grammar was pretty good. What happened was fluency was terrible because she was just trying too hard. She was just going through she was trying to make every utterance so long. Also, that was sort of she was trying to talk too quickly, and when you're talking too quickly, your brain can't keep up with your mouth, and that's a big problem because where do you go next? I don't know where I'm going to go next, so I'm going to repeat myself. I'm going to say that the brain doesn't talk to the mouth. That's the kind of thing. So people speak too quickly, or they speak for too long. Would they do that in their first language? No. So get them speaking more slowly, get them speaking not for so long. Then another thing that they might get to a problem with is grammar. Okay, so their grammar is bad. And there's two aspects of grammar that come into writing and speaking, which is the range of grammar, the amount of different types of grammar that they're using. So different tenses, maybe thrown in some conditionals, modal verbs. Are they using a wide range like a native speaker would, or are they not using the accuracy? So they might attempt a modal verb, they might attempt a conditional, they might attempt a couple of tenses in one sort of sentence, but if the accuracy's gone, it's not so good. What do you need to do as a teacher is you need to concentrate on one aspect at a time. Yeah. So if someone comes and hits you with a really fluent sentence with loads of nice vocabulary, but the grammar's bad, get them thinking once at a time. What is okay? Past tenses are bad. We're going to concentrate on the past tenses. I'm not going to care about your modal verbs. I'm not going to care that you've mucked up a conditional. I'm just going to concentrate on your I'm going to concentrate on the verb tenses that you're doing. And you might do a bit of error correction, and you might write it down on the board, say, look, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. Can you fix it? Okay. Don't try and fix a student's multiple problems at one time. Okay. Sorry, I'm waving my arms around so much that it's making my camera go out of focus. I've got to stop waving my arms around. Don't try and fix all of the problems all at once. Okay, take it step by step by step, and use something like a PPP lesson where you just concentrate on that one point, that one aspect, and you get them using that grammar point correctly. PPP lesson, talked a lot about it last week. So go back and watch the YouTube video or the Facebook video from last week if you're not sure what that is. So that's grammar. Okay. Next aspect that students have problems with maybe is vocabulary. Again, accuracy and range. Are they using the word in the context it was meant to be used? Are they using that word? Are they using a wide range of words, or are they just sticking to the same 2 or 3 words to describe something? Accuracy and range. And how do I get them doing this is planning topics and planning formalities. So you sort of say, Stevie J, the PPP lesson was talked about last week in the grammar lesson. It's where you practice presentation, production practice, where you get to do the practice of different grammar points. Go back and look at last week's grammar video and you'll know more about PPP. Also, it's covered in the online training that the TEFL Org offer. So plan with your topics and also plan the formality of who you're going to be speaking to. So put on a board holidays. Together they plan how many words they know about holidays, sport, health, money, whatever the sort of topics are that you're covering. If you want to practice using a wider range, then say, okay, guys, I'm going to ask you some questions, or I'm going to get you to ask your partner some questions. Use as many words as you can correctly for this one. Now, would this word be okay to talk to a academic lecturer? Would this okay to talk to your friends? Would it be okay to talk to whatever situation you're going to be? Put it in different formality. Okay. Brainstorm with students what vocab for what topic. So you get them thinking together. Right, here's a holiday. You want to write on the whiteboard: holidays, sport, education. Boom, 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 boom. Brainstorm, 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 brainstorm. Raise awareness of, are you using all of these words, or are you sticking to 1 or 2? Could you add in a few words of these? Right, now we're gonna before you do this, you might have got them to just speak about a topic. Now use these words. Can you add them in? You've got a wider range. Or if you want to, you can sort of just put up 2 or 3 words, adjectives usually, and then you get them to Google in a thesaurus different alternatives to these words, different words that they can add in. Use them yourself. Okay, good. Then you could also do something like a phonemic chart. You could get the phonemic chart in. That's something that is used a lot in pronunciation. So now I'm sort of moving into how to, like, other tools to use for speaking. So the phonemic chart, what I don't like to do with the phonemic chart is to show them the whole phonemic chart at once. I like to sort of break it down and try and add on a sound every lesson. That's how I like to do it. Trying to get them to do the whole phonemic chart at once is a problem. Okay. So I would say, right, okay, and textbooks do this. Today we're going to start with this vowel sound and this vowel sound, and they might be a minimal pair or a long sound and a short sound, that kind of thing, that you can contrast. And then next week we're going to add on another vowel sound and another until you sort of build up. Okay, a bit like you would adding on verb tenses. The phonemic chart is fantastic to be used with games, and you can do these online or you can do them in the classroom. Do things like word searches. So you might put in, instead of doing the letters like the Roman alphabet, the English alphabet letters, you might take out the vowel letters and add in the vowel sounds. And then you put that into a big word search and they have to find the words. Once you've sort of made one of those up, you can use it again and again with your classes. Okay, so word searches are a good way to use the phonemic chart. A run to the board is another great way of making using the phonemic chart. You put 2 sounds on a whiteboard, okay, and you might have I and E, for example, and you say a word, ship. They have to run and hit that phonemic sound with their hand. The first one to do it is the winner. Okay, something like that. Run to the boards. You could do it online by having the sounds up and they have to highlight them with their mouse. Something like that. Run to the board. Okay. Another good way of using the phonemic chart is tongue twisters. So you might have a tongue twister and you write out some of the sounds in the phonemic chart. Or you might write out the whole thing in the phonemic chart. Okay. Lots of different ways you can do that. Again, you can put that up on the board. You can write that on a whiteboard. You can write it on a shared whiteboard or a Google Doc, something like that. Again, they copy it out, they write it, they practice pronouncing it. Really good. Okay. What you need to do is sort of make speaking fun and make phonetics fun. Okay. And one of the ways that you can do this is through whispers. Okay, so you might have, if you're in a classroom, you can get get them in a long line, and you go to one end of the line and you whisper a word or a phrase or a sentence into their ear. They then have to whisper it to the next person. Next person goes down the line, and then the last person writes it down. That's what you can do. If you want to do that online, you can get them to turn off their headphones and you whisper it to one person, or you don't even need to whisper it maybe so much online. If you can get them to turn off their speakers, that kind of thing, if you trust them, and then you listen and they then say it to the next person who says it to the next person who says it to the next person who says it to the next person, comes back to you. You can tell them if they did it right. Okay. Another way of doing it is for physical word or physical sentence stress. Okay, so you might get them to model the so for example, you might have a 3-syllable word and you get the 3 students to stand up and then 2 sit down, and they model which syllable has the stress. The only one standing up that they think is the stress. So you get them moving around a bit. Could do that online by getting them to hold up their fingers, and they have to hold down the finger that they think where the stress is. So they might say, okay, the stress is on the 3rd syllable, teacher. Get them to hold that thing up, that kind of thing. All right. Another thing to do is to play a game called Taboo. This helps with fluency. It's a fantastic word. It's a fantastic game where they basically have to describe a word that you give them without using some other words. So, for example, you might write on a piece of paper, you've got to describe this word to your friends, banana. However, you can't say the word fruit. You can't say the word yellow. They've got to try and describe a banana without saying the word yellow, without saying the word fruit. You could do, if you buy it, you can buy this game. You get a whole load of cards. You can dish out the cards to them in a classroom. If you're doing it online, you can do it through sending them a private chat. So you could go around the back of the rest of the class. So you might have Yuko up here and you say to Yuko, okay, Yuko, look at your chat, describe this word. The others all have to listen. Okay, taboo is a good one. Another way you can improve their range of vocabulary use. Another way you can improve their fluency is doing something like Pictionary, where they have to try and guess the word that's up there, or charade, something like that. Another way is doing vocabulary tennis. Pictionary you can play online on a whiteboard. You can put the picture up, whatever it might be. They can draw it on a whiteboard. Vocabulary tennis is where you can get students in a line. So they're facing each other. You might have 5 students facing each other each way. Then you say to one on the right, okay, the topic is sports. You have to name a sport. The first one goes football. Then it goes across the one opposite. They go tennis. They go volleyball. They keep going around and around. You might use adjectives, verbs, nouns. They hit the ball to each other. Whoever can't think of a word loses. Good way of producing a range of vocabulary. Online, you would do it so the top left says one word, then the next one, 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 then the next one. Okay, vocabulary tennis. Another way you might play to include the fluency is something like guess the famous person. So in a classroom, typically they have a post-it note with the name of Barack Obama or something on the top. They have to try and guess this person through asking questions. It helps with producing questions. Do it online. Again, go through some private chats. Tell them this is who you are. This is who you are. So this is who the person is. So you got 5. You say, right, to the 5 people, this is who Yuko is. Yuko has to guess. Something like that. All right. Okay. Another good game to play is phonemic bingo. So using the phonemic chart, you would say a sound. They have to cross it off on a chart. You could do it on an interactive whiteboard, something like that. Phonemic bingo is another one that I've used in the classroom. Right, now I've babbled on too much. I need to get to these questions. I hope that makes sense. If you've got any questions, please let me know. Right, let me scroll back up because I've been babbling on way too long and I could talk for hours about pronunciations and speaking. So let me just go right the way up. Okay, so Danielle at 4:41 p.m. said about the hardest parts about teaching your class is getting them to practice outside the lessons. It's clear that once you leave some of them, they will not, she did it in 2 questions, they will not speak any English until the next week's lesson, and therefore progress can be slow. Yeah, so I think there, you're not setting them, number one, you're not setting them enough homework, Danielle, is something that I would maybe suggest there. The other one is I would use a website called Flipgrid. See if you can look at that one where they can at home record themselves speaking. They can also at home listen to the others speaking outside of class, and they can do sort of they can do replies and that kind of thing. That will get them speaking. That's a really good website and I love it. Flipgrid.com. Try that one. Andrew, hello. Right, okay, you're a college student. You don't think so. You have. I'm basically. I feel like you're asking, Andrew, how to teach without a degree. Is that probably what you're asking? I think that's what you're asking. Okay. The first thing that I would do if I was you, Andrew, is look, if you can finish your degree, it helps to get work around the world. I'm not going to lie about it. It does help. However, there are ways of working abroad without a degree. For sure there are. So I don't know what passport you've got, Andrew, but Europe, if you've got a European passport, is a great place to try and find some work abroad without a degree. Europe is a fantastic place. If you're looking to go a bit further afield, if you're already in Europe, Asia, you could teach abroad in Japan without a degree. If you go on a working holiday visa, Cambodia is also another great place to teach without a degree. What I would do if I was you, I would go to TEFL Org, TEFL.org, and then blog. Okay, so let me just see if I can find this website for you here. Okay, so if you go to our website, TEFL.org, okay, and if you go to this blog section here, you click on that, you end up with here, and I would put in something like teaching without a degree. Okay, put something in there like that. You'll find some websites here that tell you about how to teach in Japan without a degree. Lots of information there. Lots of information there. That's how I would start, because I can't go into lots of detail about that. We have also done webinars about this, Andrew, so if you go back and look. Okay, right, let me just get through these questions as quick. All the hellos: Portugal, hello. Michelle in Brussels, Denver, Germany. Hi, John. Elvie, hello. You started your course, great, that's good. Let me scroll down. Where's the first question? Elizabeth, hi. How can we strike the right balance when correcting students orally, so we don't sound authoritarian but also are not pushovers whom students don't respect? That's interesting. I think students probably haven't respected me, but I've never ever worried about that, Elizabeth, ever. I've never worried about losing respect to the class. Not a problem for me. But maybe for you, and that's absolutely fine. Right. The key thing is to look at what the aim is for your lesson, Elizabeth. So if you are doing a writing lesson and you are doing paragraphing, you don't worry too much about their grammar in that lesson. You worry a lot about the paragraphing. You stick to correcting and being authoritarian about that one point. You aren't this horrible Elizabeth teacher for every bit of problem that they have. You just concentrate on whatever your aim is for that lesson, whatever your objective is for that lesson. Go for that, and then that will help you. Okay? Don't try and correct everything, step by step. A bit like pronunciation and speaking as well. Maybe you concentrate on vocabulary or you concentrate on fluency. All right? I hope that answered your question there. Stevie, hello. Not necessarily relevant to the subject of this webinar. That's okay. We can go off topic. We can lose our fluency on this webinar. We're good to have a webinar on setting up as an online English teacher. We've done these before. Stevie Jade, go back and look on our Facebook page. Last year, we did loads about how to set yourself up online as a English teacher, how to find your own students, Stevie Jade. Go back and have a look on our Facebook page. You will definitely find them. I can remember sitting here in this room during COVID, big time doing it. However, maybe we'll do another one. Let me ask Alan. Nicole, hello. Any tips for setting up a conversation class with students that all have the same L1? Live in a Spanish-speaking country, so do not use English outside of class. Well, I would. It sounds like you need to. Look, some teachers might have a ready-made group of English people that want to talk to them. I've never ever found that I've ever got any mates that want to talk to my students ever. Okay, so starting up a conversation class with people is not. Language exchanges, personally, I don't find work well for groups. Might work for one-on-ones, but not for groups. So it sounds like you need to do is set up a conversation class with each other that you monitor and that you make sure that English is being used. Again, something like Flipgrid is really good for that. Look at that at the website Flipgrid, FLIPGRID.com. See if you can get yourself in there. Okay? See if that works out for you. I'm sure it will. Alex, hello. Do I have any good teaching agencies that can help me with finding work without a degree? You have 120-hour qualification, 30 hours teaching young learners, and 20-hour qualification too. Sounds like you've got loads of qualifications, Alex. Alex, I would go down. I've noticed that you have written a few times, okay? Look, the agency, the best one to look at is the blog post on our website, okay? So look on there, look for teaching without a degree, look on the jobs, find ones like that. Then broaden out your search, look at eslcafe.com. See if you can find some work on there. I find in the website Indeed, INDEED, Indeed. There's also companies advertising on there for online tutors. That's the sort of ones that I would go at. Alex, it does, without a degree, it might take you a bit more time, but there's definitely, I know people that have got work who I have trained up without a degree online. It will happen, Alex. Alex, maybe it's the strength of your applications. Is there anything you can do with that? Okay. But I reckon there's definitely work out there for people without a degree. You just got to keep applying and keep applying. You will find something. Okay. Rafit, hello. So Alex, I should say, if you want message, if you've got more questions, message the Facebook page, okay, and I'll see if I can sort of help you out a little bit with that, okay. Rafit, sorry Alan for mucking you about then. Rafit, you have an Indian student with an American accent, but his dad wants me to help him get a British accent. Why? How? Look. Like, why would you want to change someone's accent? It's a big problem, Rafit. I don't know how much you need the money, Rafit, but that sounds like a nightmare. Okay. I would, look, I'm lucky that I've got quite a bit of work, so I would be, I'm sorry, that's impossible. That's the sort of thing I would say to them. I would say, let's just try and get you as good as we can, because what you're really going there is like the route of being an impressionist. So you got to talk a bit like this to be Scottish. Alan's Scottish. He's going to have a go at me for my Scottish accent. Or you got to talk a bit like this if you want to be Irish. That's doing impressions. That's not really natural English. You know, I would sort of say really carefully why. I don't think that's going to work, especially if that student's playing lots of American video games and watching lots of American TV. Good luck. Nicole, any tips in general for setting up conversation classes are coming up? Oh, it's the same person. That's why. Nicole, I think I just answered your question. But I would say definitely what you need to do is something online where you can monitor. You might not listen to them all, but you might listen to a couple of 30 seconds, 20 seconds to make sure they're doing something like that. Okay. Andrea, hello. References to listening resources. Okay, so that's ship or sheep if we're talking about the pronunciation one. I quite like onestopenglish.com. That's pretty good for listening. BBC Learning English is also good for listening. Depends on the level, really. If they're quite high advanced, you can go down the TED Talks route. Okay, there's also, I've noticed that there's websites online where ESL lessons are made out of TED Talks. Something like that. It does depend on the level, Andrea. Give me some more information. Tommy, hello. Are there certain sounds that people can't produce? Yes. I know many Spanish people who can't do trill, troll, the R's. Have you found this to be the case when teaching English? Yes, Tommy. So, like as I've said in the presentation, Google is your friend. Google Japanese English, Japanese speaking problems, English, something like that. You know, get those words in there and try different orders until something comes up. The game, same again with Spanish. You know, you will definitely find that. Okay, you will definitely find that as a case, and that is definitely, there's loads of websites out there. Okay, good, Claudia. I'm glad you lose ship and sheep. Great. Andrea, sound bites in different accents. Yes, that's I think I know what question you're getting at there. It's like, should you try and show people different accents? Yes, you should. Radio stations are great for this, and this is really important if they're going to be taking an English test, because quite often a lot of these come up with a lot of different accents come up in the test, so getting them aware of these different accents is very important. Okay, so it is good, but the listenings can be hard to find. Okay, I'm sorry if you can hear my dog. My dog's going crazy. I don't know why. I apologize on the microphone. Nicole, hello. How to get students talking if it's a new class you are teaching. Okay, so pair work is the key work there, Nicole. Making sure if it's online, putting them into breakout rooms. If they're in the classroom with you, getting them paired up. Get them not speaking in front of a class. Get them not speaking in terms of like somewhere where there's a high stress level. Get them speaking in relaxed situations. Okay. Alex, hello. How to avoid time wasters. Yeah, that's a difficult one when you're first starting and you're trying to find students. How I avoided time wasters was getting them to pay for a trial lesson. So when I started, I used to offer a 15-minute or a 30-minute trial lesson to see if they liked me. If they liked me, then they would then hopefully buy more lessons. I would get them to pay £1 for it. You'd be surprised how much that did the time wasters. The other thing that you need to do with your time wasters is really get your marketing spot on. So whatever your niche is, whatever the type of English you're teaching is, make sure you're advertising that to the correct people, to the people that can afford it, and make sure that you're getting it to people that actually want that. Okay? Maybe your niche might be too wide, Alex. Narrow your niche. Okay? Rima, hello. Do we teach British English or American English as their spellings differ? Well, American English is just wrong, isn't it? Joke before you all go crazy and I lose my job. I love American English. I think it's a great thing. Right, so the first thing there is it depends what they want to use their English for. Are they going to go live in America? Teach American English. Are they going to go live in Britain? Teach British English. So that's important. If they're going for a test, doesn't matter. The test, a good English test that's used for visa purposes, you know, the big ones around the world will accept both spellings, so you don't need to worry about that. So I, obviously, from Britain, I teach British English spellings. However, it is helpful to point out the American English if that's going to be relevant to them. Okay? All right. Mary, hello. You mainly teach Arabic mother tongue students. The thick rolling R is a challenge to improve eradicate. So again, like listening to themselves. So get them recording themselves and then you type down what they say, okay? Or you get the other student to type down what they say, dictations, that kind of thing. Get them aware that they are doing it. Okay, once you've got them aware that they are doing it, then that will hopefully stop. Then go down the minimal pair route. You show them the differences between a short R and a long R sound. Is there a long R sound? Bar, R. Well, yeah, you got the R or the R sound, I guess. But that's a vowel sound. Anyway, Mary, don't get me on the hop like this, please. There's got to be websites about that for Arabic teachers. I bet you there are. If you Google something like Arabic R and then put R in slashes, ESL lesson, I bet you find lots for that one. Okay, Andrea, hopefully I've answered some of the online teaching. I hope I got that in there. And Nicole, again, online, I hope that I've put some ideas for some games that you can use for speaking for online lessons. Okay. Andrea, any tips for online tutoring one-to-one? Yeah, basically, if you're going to be teaching someone on one-to-one, it's very important if you are in charge of it that you've done a good needs analysis, that you are teaching them what they want or what they need. So if you Google needs analysis ESL, Google needs analysis EFL, something like that, that will give you some idea, and you make sure that you are covering what they want and what you think they need. And there's also an aspect called LACK, L-A-C-K, that might come into it as well. But definitely making sure that you're doing what they want, that keeps them coming back to you, that keeps them paying again. That's what I would say. Okay, it's difficult one-on-one. Try and not do long lessons. Make sure you got a big break in the middle. Okay, Amy, there is going to be a replay. You can watch this at any time. Okay, Cheryl, hello. Is having a student read to you a good activity for telephone Zoom teaching? Right. Straight up, I would say no. However, I know teachers that do this and say it's effective. The reason why I say no is because, is it natural? Like, is it a thing that they're actually going to use English for? Really, you should try and get every activity you do to be natural and be something that's used, okay? And I'm not sure that reading from a script or reading from a book is good. However, you might use it to diagnose some pronunciation problems, and that is absolutely fine, I think. Yeah. However, I think that for me, it's not natural. But I quite often get students to read from a textbook or read from an activity sheet I've made. Okay. Claudia, lovely. Is that a question? No, you're telling us about how to use for fluency, that's a great. Thank you. Any ideas, tips you got, put them in there. Thank you, Claudia. That's some 5+5. Strong profile picture there, Claudia. I like it. James, hello. Have you found that some students find a British accent unusual or harder to understand than the US accent? Look, James, depends where you are. I struggle with some British accents. I don't find that I tend to struggle so much with American accents. There is a wide range of British accents, and it's very important that you have a teacher's voice. When I talk to my mates, I talk a bit like this. I go a bit Cockney. How you doing? You all right, mate? This is because I grew up in London. This is sort of speaking that I do. I talk a bit like this. Maybe not quite as bad as that, but you know, I do definitely go a bit more like Reading, Southeast English. All right. However, that can be quite difficult for students to understand. So you might need to have a teacher's voice, and you might need to work on your teacher's voice, James, if that's true. I don't think if you've got a good pronunciation voice, I don't think the student should have a problem. Okay. Amrita, hello. You're an architect, but now want to be a teacher? Giving up on architecture? Why? I would love to be an architect. I'm too stupid. I don't have any teaching experience as such. We have a TEFL certificate. Your chance of teaching abroad are pretty high, Amrita. You know, loads of stuff we've got on our website, TEFL.org, about getting yourself teaching abroad. There's loads of stuff on there. Your chances are very high, for sure. Samantha, which TEFL Facebook page is the official one? If you put in TEFL.org, or you don't need to put the dot, TEFL space .org. That's it. If not, I'm sure Alan, probably a bit further on, will put that into the chat. James, hello. Another off-topic question. Fine. I just wondered if I had visited any of the countries that you've ever taught English in prior to living and working now. Did you jump in at the deep end? Jumped in at the deep end. Went to Vietnam before I'd been there. Went to Japan. So I taught in Vietnam before I'd been on holiday. Same with Japan. Sri Lanka, I'd been on holiday there. Kazakhstan, just threw myself into it. Iraq, threw myself into it. Azerbaijan, threw myself into it. I just went for it. That's the sort of person I am. I enjoy doing that one. Okay. Tommy, lovely. Okay, that's some discussions going on. Just going to get past that one. Sarah, hello. Your friend is trying to get English teaching job in Colombia, America, or Colombia, South America. I'm guessing it's South America. Can you recommend anything for her, please? Yeah, I did South America is difficult without a degree. It's not the easiest. However, what I would look for, Sarah, is Colombia has some social problems going on at the moment. I listened to a good podcast on it this week. You know, there's a lot of anger in Colombia at the moment, so companies might not be willing to recruit people. So that could be part of the thing. I would contact schools directly. So I would get on Google and I would maybe type it in Spanish, English language school, Bogota, whatever it might be. See if you can, and then contact them directly, see if they're recruiting. That's what I would do. Okay. Quite often, South America, without a degree, they want you to already be out there. Okay. Good. Loads of stuff about the accents. Good. Just because I said that I wouldn't want to change somebody's American to British accent doesn't mean that there's not people out there that will. It's just me personally. Okay. There are other opinions available. Hannah, hello. How would you normally correct students during a speaking activity? As they speak, or give a delayed correction? Which is best? Interesting. Does it change great depending? Yes, it does. Hannah, change. So I tend to let the student get to the end of the utterance. What that means is when they take a breath, then I jump in. So it's like, yesterday I eat pizza and, sorry, Yuko, yesterday you eat pizza? Oh, teacher, no, yesterday I ate pizza. Yes, well done, Yuko. So that's kind of thing. Or other teachers like to write down all the errors, and then when they get to the end of the sentence, you tell them and you put the errors on the board. Okay. Some teachers like to say, look, as I was walking around and listening to your conversation, I heard these 10 errors. and you put them on the board. You get them to do it. Right, now, can you say it again without repeating it, without these errors? Something like that. Lots of different ways of doing error correction, and it's really important to mix up your error correction. Again, Google's your friend there. Okay. Sundis, hello. Any tips for teaching conversation for large class of students? Wow, 60. I've had this in China. First thing is to not expect too much, is what I would say to you, Sundis. It's very difficult for you to get round all of those students in an hour lesson. Impossible, I would say. Lots of pair work. Not because it's a big class, maybe not too much mixing it up, but try and put them in groups of 4 and give them a topic to talk about, and try and get around each of those groups. Try and make a bit of eye contact with all of them. That's the first thing I would say. I think probably in terms like that, it's difficult. What I would probably do is lots of putting topics on the board, getting students to speak it. Okay, that kind of thing, if that helps you. Okay. Good. Okay. Lovely. Some lovely things there. Great. No problem. LV, hello. Do you have a good chance of finding a teaching job in Spain without a degree in my TEFL? Yeah. If you've got a Spanish passport or you've got a European Union passport, definitely Spain is a good place to teach English. What I would suggest, LV, is to not look at the major Spanish cities. So somewhere like Barcelona and Madrid is quite difficult to find work. However, somewhere like Almeria, not as well known, beautiful place, would love to live there. I've worked over there, and companies have struggled to get teachers. And I've worked with teachers who don't have a degree. They've only got their TEFL certificate. So I would look at some cities that you're happy to work in, contact the schools, see if that works out for you, see if you can find some work out there. Okay. Joanna, hello. You're almost done with the 120-hour TEFL, but won't be able to teach abroad at the moment. Teaching in the UK, interesting one, Joanne. So right. So teaching in the UK, sort of paid teaching in the UK with the 120-hour certificate. Local language schools. You'd be surprised how many local language schools, EFL language schools, there are in the major towns in the UK. So I would Google again. I'm not paid by Google. I just say it a lot. I wish I was paid by Google, but I'm not. I like Googling. Doesn't everyone like Googling? I don't know. Joanne, off topic, Fluency, terrible. Google language schools for your town or your city. Send them an email. Say, hi, I'm here. Have you got any jobs going? Also, FE, higher education, and not higher education, further education colleges. See if they want people. The next thing to do is to do a bit of volunteer work, where you might contact local churches, see if they've got anyone that wants to learn English, see if you can get involved with that. Or like long term, making a living in the UK is difficult. I would probably go down the route of trying to find local work, and also trying to get my own students through advertising, that kind of thing. Hope that hurts. Hope that helps you, Joanne. Okay, good. Yep, great tips there. John, hello. So when it comes to correcting errors, is it best to elicit? Yes, it is, John. So you never say, oh, Yuko, you said yesterday you eat a pizza. Yuko, that was wrong. That was wrong. It should have been yesterday you ate a teacher. Ate a pizza. By Yuko. No, you've got to give them some error correction where they produce it themselves. Okay. Thanks, John. And thanks for tuning in, John. Great to see you. Yep, some great tips there. Right, coming to the end. Got 2 more minutes left. Leanne, hello. Occasionally you get asked to teach curse words. Yes. Any way you suggest doing this in a professional manner? Usually students want to know because they hear them so often. If I've got a class that I like, I would never do this at the start, but I would maybe do this towards the end of term. something like this. And if I feel like I can get away with it. So you've got to know your students really well. I would happily do swear words in a lesson. I love it. They love it. It's fantastic. But, Leanne, never with kids, never if you're worried about your job. But you do it just like a vocabulary lesson. You do it in like, you know, put it in the correct box here. Listen to this conversation. That kind of thing. Do it like a normal vocabulary lesson. Go for it. Leanne, let me know how that works out. Guys, that's the end of the webinar. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you are still listening after 55 minutes. If you're looking to get into teaching, please go on to TEFL.org. Loads of information on there. Please contact us on the Facebook page, in the Messenger. Go on our website. There's a chat with us function. Let us help you to become a teacher. Okay? Really, it's given me a great life. And I really recommend anybody that's sort of on the fence about teaching English as a foreign language, go for it. Okay? Please like the videos, like our Facebook page, all that kind of thing. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, guys. Have a good day. Have a good weekend.